Hey there, I know you are here because your desire is to chase purpose. So I'm hosting a free training, Speak with Purpose, at patricewashington.com/SWP. If your purpose has led you down the path of becoming an aspiring or rising speaker, podcaster, or a professional who wants to speak with more boldness and confidence in the boardroom, this training will help you expand your impact, increase your authority, and enroll people in the vision that you are working towards. The skill set and mindset I will teach you is a part of how we honor our wish for you to earn more without ever feeling like you have to chase money. I'll teach you why you absolutely have a story to tell and the reasons not knowing how to tell it are costing you clients and losing you money and other opportunities. The anatomy of any transformational speech will be broken down because these 5 core elements are the things that are making your talks, presentations, webinars, or interviews fall flat and lowering your conversion rates. And you'll learn how to command the stage. That's the exact way you can use your life experience and or professional expertise to speak with authority, captivate your audience, and attract a tribe of clients or just advocates to help you grow your platform and your purpose. So join me Thursday, August 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Register for free training, Speak with Purpose, at patricewashington.com/SWP. In every area of our lives, the people who you think are truthful and transparent are always going to get your attention. Is that how you show up? I'm Patrice Washington, and this is the Redefining Wealth podcast, where authenticity leads to alignment and abundance. Join us each week as we peel back the layers on what wealth truly means and dive into conversations that inspire, connect, and empower you to live your richest life. Get ready to challenge the status quo. It's time to redefine wealth for yourself. Hey there, you're listening to the Redefining Wealth podcast with Patrice Washington. And this is the place that you come to every week to learn more about what it means to chase purpose, not money. And I am so glad that you are back. I have to start this episode with a very special happy 17th birthday to my daughter, Reagan Washington. Oh my gosh. You guys have listened to Reagan and watched Reagan grow up with me over these last 7 years of the podcast. And if you knew me back in my Steve Harvey morning show days, then you've watched Reagan for even longer. And wow, I guess that means we're all just getting older. I'm so proud of who Reagan is becoming. I just picked her up from SCAD, Savannah College of Art Design, out in Savannah. She did a summer program there and knocked it out the park. And I'm just so proud of who she's becoming. So I got to use this time to give my baby a shout out. Happy birthday to her and congratulations to me. She is a great decision maker and she drives. And so praise God, freed up a lot of my life. I'm really excited about the theme this month in the Redefining Wealth community. It is give voice to your truth. Give voice to truth specifically. This is one of those lessons that I share with her all the time. I share with Reagan about the power of learning these principles sooner, quicker, faster. For women in particular who are listening to this podcast, which is about 90% of the listeners, you already know that if you had learned to give voice to your truth in both your personal and professional life, at 30 years old, 20 years old, 17 years old, my goodness, where would we be, right? Even for those of us who felt outspoken and opinionated, maybe professionally, we didn't always feel it privately with our families. And so this whole series of conversations this month is all about what that means, what it means to give voice to your truth. I am so clear that as I watch the growth in the alumni of our programs, my current students, that being able to find, build, and use our voices to advocate for ourselves at home, at work, and in life is so instrumental in truly being able to redefine wealth for yourself. Because until you can give voice to what you really want and not live by the validation and definitions of others, you are, in fact, not redefining wealth for yourself, friends. You are just going along to get along with the same thing that's always been done or always been said about who you are, what you have to desire, and what you have to do with your life. Statistically speaking, because I love to come with a little facts. Statistically speaking, I remember doing a survey or a campaign, I should say, with Capital One back in the day. It was about their listening survey. And it just talked about how many Americans didn't feel heard or understood. And it was an overwhelming amount, but they have even more recent data. So as far as like 2022, 2023, a study by Catalyst found that 45% of employees feel that they aren't listened to by their managers. A Harvard Business Review indicated that only 18% of people thought that their organizations had a genuine interest in their well-being. Accenture study said 55% of consumers feel misunderstood by the companies they interact with. A survey by the Harris Poll found that 65% of people feel that they are often misunderstood by their closest friends and family members. No matter which survey you look at, I'm sure we can all remember a time, if not present time, that we have felt this way. And when we don't feel heard, we stop speaking and we stop using our voice. Just think about it. When you don't feel heard by your family about what your dreams and goals and visions are, this is why I'm always talking about the Redefining Wealth community being a place, especially in our app, where you can curate the type of support that you need, want, and desire, because many people don't feel heard. And when you don't feel heard by your family and friends about what you want for your life, what you just want right now, not even big dreams and goals and visions, but just simple things, you stop sharing. And when you shut down and stop sharing, you can feel alone, even when you are surrounded by so many people who say they love you and who do love you, but don't understand that creating safety for your voice to be heard is a part of showing that love. What happens when you don't feel heard at work? Are you inspired to keep growing professionally? Many people are not. Many people kind of resign themselves to just doing just enough to get their check, and then they check out. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a speaker, a podcaster like myself, a coach, and you feel like the audience that you desire to support is not leaning in, they're not hearing you, something's off, they're not resonating. And of course, that then impacts your income. You abandon the vision. Even a vision that you feel like God truly gave you, you abandon it. Not because you don't have love for the people or love for what you believe you're called to do, but simply because you don't feel heard. And you feel like something is off and broken about the communication. And that is so frustrating. And I understand. So as we go throughout this episode and this month, really, I have some questions that I want you to ask yourself as you listen. The first one is, what is not using my voice costing me personally and professionally? Second, how has staying silent begun to impact my relationships and my ability to achieve my goals and deepest desires? Third, what fears are holding me back from really expressing my truth? Fourth, how would my life change if I could communicate with boldness and authenticity? And 5, what do I do if I'm not being heard? We are going to get into all of this and more over the next 2 weeks. I'm breaking this down today to speak more to your personal life. And next week, I'll really be digging into more of your professional life. So let's listen to the affirmation of the week, and I'll be right back. This week's affirmation is, my words are heard the first time. I affirm my ability to speak clearly and powerfully, ensuring that my voice is heard and understood the first time. With confidence and intention, I articulate my thoughts and feelings with precision and clarity. I trust in my ability to convey my message effectively, knowing that my words carry weight and significance. As I speak, I command attention and respect, creating meaningful connections with those who listen. Each time I communicate, I affirm my presence and power, making a lasting impact through my words. Declare with me today, my words are heard the first time. Okay, so I am so excited to get into this. I'm so excited to really help you learn how to speak so people listen. And I have to say, sometimes when you hear things about speaking, even when I teach Command the Stage, people kind of assume when they come into Command the Stage that it's going to be all gimmicks and tricks. And this is when you use a certain voice inflection. And this is when you pause and all this stuff. But when you listen to graduates of Command the Stage, you will learn that it was not just about how to present on stage. It was really a big internal transformation that most of my clients experience, which has allowed them to show up more powerfully professionally, more powerfully on the stage of their life, whether that be in a ballroom in front of hundreds or thousands of people or a boardroom in front of 10 people. It's the internal work that you have to do first. And I would be remiss if we did not start with that. So this is all about, if we want to speak so people listen, the first part is we have to shift what is going on inside of us. Because if we've carried the idea for any length of time that our voice is not valuable or that our ideas are not worthy, people can teach you all the strategy in the world and it won't mean anything. And I'm really recording this selfishly too, because as I continue to book VIP days to teach people Command the Stage format one-on-one, I realize that when people just do that and they don't have this piece, it actually is harder for me. So when I do the 6-week version of Command the Stage, I can infuse that as I'm teaching every week. I'm also really teaching you the mindset and beliefs and internal shifts that you need to have in order to show up more powerfully and more confidently. But in a VIP day format where someone just signs up, I don't always have that ability to really instill that in them. So I'm also really recording this because I want to make sure that I have a pre-training that is just about these internal shifts before people can even work with me anymore one-on-one in that format. So this is kind of dual duty. But let me tell you an equation that changed everything for me. And it was really having a conversation with my coach. And this is several years ago now, but it really reflects what I have been doing. And you know, sometimes you're doing something, you just don't have a label for it or you don't have a name for it. And in this case, I never had a equation for it. And the equation that my coach gave me was truth squared equals power. And that became a guiding light. That's how it was introduced to me some years ago. So truth squared equals power simply means that to be more powerful in how you show up in the world, you have to first be willing to be truthful with yourself. Now, here at Redefining Wealth, you know, I refer to that as radical honesty. You have to be true to yourself first, no matter what. And then when you partner that with being able to be true to others, the byproduct of such truth can only lead to power if you are able to hold that position. Most of us are not able to hold the position of being truthful with ourselves and then truthful with others. And then that comes out in our poor communication. Because we can't be honest with ourselves and honest with others simultaneously, working together, then that usually results in us suffering in silence. It results in us sometimes becoming people who gossip because it's easier to talk about your stuff than tell the truth about my stuff. We become people who are not great listeners, so we're combative, we're not coachable. We become whiners and complainers. We become insecure about what we can say and what we can't say and afraid. And there's so many things that start to come up and we don't even realize the root of it is that I have not been radically honest with myself. Therefore, I couldn't be radically honest with others. And now I have leaked my own power And even though God has given me a vision for how my family and personal life can look, or how my professional life can look, I can't execute it because at the root, at the foundation, there's some stuff that's been off and out of alignment. So that equation was powerful for me to have, because I realized that a part of why I became such an amazing speaker, and I will toot my own horn because I am a sought after speaker, and I've spoken up to 10,000 people and done national television, and this podcast will be at 20 million downloads this year, and on and on and on, right? I realized that why that happened is because I show up so authentically and vulnerable, no matter who's around and what's going on, because I shouldn't say never, for the last decade, I haven't allowed people to weaponize my truth, my story. So that's how the equation was originally introduced to me some years ago. And I'm always, as a coach, looking to improve upon these concepts, right? For my own understanding and integration, of course, but also so that I can support you more deeply through the podcast, through the Redefining Wealth app, in private coaching, and the ability to see how it impacts people in real time and literally changes their life is so fulfilling. That's a part of the chase purpose, not money for me. Like, it is so fulfilling to feel that, to know that this is possible. So I just wanted you to know that I understand where it comes from. But here's the equation and how I've evolved it. And then I'm going to break down each section. So the equation for you to be able to really speak so people listen, which means really create transformation in yourself, in your relationships, your connections, your opportunities. I now say truth squared plus transparency creates trust. And that trust is what breeds transformation. It's truth squared plus transparency creates trust, and trust is what breeds the transformation. So here's the framework for speaking so people listen. And obviously, you're going to adapt this to your audience, but this is about the quality of how you desire to carry yourself. This is the internal work that we get to do first before we start layering all types of strategy on something. So the first one, again, truth squared. This is where I encourage you to really embrace radical honesty in your communication. It is so important that you get to the root of your own genuine thoughts and feelings, even if it's uncomfortable. Being genuine and real about your needs, wants, and desires, not based on what society says or culture says or your religious indoctrination just says. I'm not saying you don't take those things into consideration, but to keep denying who you really are and what you really want. Your religious beliefs can't even kick in and support you when you still lying. How is your religion not rooted in some type of honesty and authenticity? Does that even make sense? You have to at least be real. When you are real and truthful about where you are, what you want, what's going on with you, right? That's when you can call upon whatever it is you say you believe to support you. But if you're going to lie about it and keep sweeping it under the rug and keep acting like things that are happening or not happening and romanticizing and rationalizing and all of this stuff, listen, I'm not trying to get you to go against anything. I'm trying to get you to lean in because you're being radically honest. This is important for you to communicate. It is a part of your communication aptitude for you to be radically honest. And we have built a negative association with this idea of being radical because people assume it means to be mean or aggressive or abrasive or crazy for some reason. And radical really at the root of it means to advocate thoroughly. Advocate thoroughly for your ability to be honest with yourself. Our attachment to other people's furrowed browns or frowns or objections and not our own objective is what keeps us from being honest. This is why here at Redefining Wealth, I talk over and over again about becoming detached from the outcome. When you become detached from the outcome, you can become more invested in your own radical honesty. Being willing to lose is a sub-concept. I'll be teaching more of that at Redefining Wealth Live. That's a sub-concept. It means willing to lose, doesn't mean that you will lose. It doesn't mean that you want to lose. It means that we have to be willing so we don't get sucked into lying. When we're willing to lose, when we're willing to lose people's approval, then we don't get sucked into lying to them. We don't get sucked into rationalizing. We don't get sucked into romanticizing. I'm willing to lose your approval of me so I can be honest with me and therefore honest with you. So that truth is first to ourselves. Who am I? What do I really want? What lights me up? What ticks me off? What do I really desire? What do I really need in this season to be all that I feel God is calling me to be? Be honest. Truth. That truth starts with you. And then the next side of that, when we say truth squared, is truth to others. Now, at Redefining Wealth Live, we went through this exercise where we created scripts and we practiced in the room. If you don't have your ticket for Redefining Wealth Live, I don't know why you haven't. This is the best place to come and actually practice and integrate. There's not a million speakers. It's, I would say, a magnified workshop and training, right? It's more people than you would have in a small training, but it is me teaching you, guiding you, leading you. We're breaking into small groups and wisdom circles. We're practicing our scripts. We're doing role play. We're doing exercises. We're standing up, dancing, engaging. Like, this is real deal, right? And at Redefining Wealth Live, we do scripts and suggestions for when you have to have these truthful, but sometimes uncomfortable conversations. But here's what I want you to know. Once you're honest with yourself, it creates the space for you to begin to be honest with others. The problem that I've seen for many of us is that because we can't be honest with ourselves, we typically can't be honest with others. Because those others are the same people we keep leaning into for our definitions of wealth, of success, of joy, of love. We keep leaning into those same people for validation. We keep leaning into those same people for acceptance. And as long as they are the ones creating what we should be doing or who we are or what is acceptable, then there's always going to be a disconnect. This idea that we have to keep talking to someone else before we listen to our soul, before we talk to ourselves, is what's creating the friction. So this is why I always ask my clients, right? When they say, well, I'm going to go just tell my mama such and such, or I'm just going to go have this conversation with my boss, but they haven't yet been honest, fully honest about their role in the tension, about their role in the problem, about how they know they've contributed. They haven't been fully honest about that. They're still living in a romanticized version of what's going on. I always go, so what do you plan on accomplishing if you go in there guns blazing with that statement or question? What are you actually expecting in return? What are you expecting here? You haven't done the work to be honest with yourself, but you want to rush in and call yourself, quote unquote, being honest with them. There's no way to be honest with anyone else until you've first been honest with yourself, because that is going to change the script. That is going to lead the conversation, especially if it's a difficult and uncomfortable one. It'll lead you in being able to say, I take full responsibility for my part, and I apologize if I have led you to believe, insert. That is the type of language that gets people listening. That is the type of language that makes people lean in, assuming they're not toxic and having their own personality disorders, right? That is the language that makes people lean in. Unfortunately, we have been taught that honesty is offensive. And I know that there are people who find clarity very offensive. I get it all the time. People feel that clarity is offensive. I'm not sure why. You can have the sweetest tone and be just as thorough and all the things. There's a lot of people who can't always receive the truth. And we'll get to this later, but they can't always receive the truth because they banked on you never finding your truth and definitely never finding your voice. That's a whole nother story though. But I do want you to know there's so many stories of people who have embraced being radically honest with themselves and then radically honest with their significant others. For example, what popped in my head is I'm thinking of Evelyn And you've probably heard me talk about Evelyn before. I think I just mentioned her a few episodes ago, but Evelyn was in Mastering Momentum and she's been in Command the Stage, Purpose the Platform, all the things. And she came to Redefining Wealth last year and was on a panel about this topic about relationships. And she was just sharing how being radically honest allow her to speak to her husband, who we love at Redefining Wealth. He's a real purpose chaser. He wears his Chase Purpose gear everywhere. What's up, Armin? To share with him about what her needs, wants, and desires were in the marriage. And I remember her being in Mastering Momentum and talking about how deeper in love they were falling and how much their communication had improved and how it sparked like a next level love for them. And you see it even in their social, all that stuff. That was from radical honesty. And because Armin is a great guy and he was also ready to receive, whether he knew it or not. And I'm not saying they didn't have any difficult conversations. I don't know. But I am saying I see the byproduct of that. And if what you desire is to speak so people listen and so you can transform your working relationship or your marriage or any number of things, two people or two parties who want to make it work will thrive when truth is squared. That's the point. So if you have any fear around, well, telling the truth will upset someone or come off mean or they won't love you, how does it feel for someone to be loving a version of you that is not even authentic? That's what you want to continue to do? Or to keep yourself in a space that does not even value you and celebrate you authentically? Is that what you continue to do? You can play on the surface level, but your soul is exhausted. You can keep acting like it's okay, but your soul is exhausted. Many of us here who think that you have all these other challenges, oh, my health and my this and that, that is the physical manifestation of your soul's exhaustion because you refuse to listen and you refuse to tell the truth. And it's crazy for us to continue to talk about feeling not heard and misunderstood when we squash down our own feelings and drown out our own soul on a daily basis. And I'm going to say on a moment to moment basis, and then complain about other people not hearing us, not listening to us, and drowning out our deepest desires when we do it to ourselves. Let me share a powerful story with you. When Abraham Lincoln was facing one of the most crucial decisions of his presidency during the Civil War, he sought clarity through deep focus and reflection. He invited a friend of his, Leonard Swett, to sit with him for hours as he wrestled back and forth with the decision to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. It wasn't that Lincoln really needed Swett to make his decision. He simply needed someone he trusted and someone he believed was solid enough to hold space so he could concentrate and find absolute clarity within himself. Similarly, I believe that my purpose in this season is to hold space for brilliant women who know purpose has evolved, but they need a solid thinking partner to bring it all together. With my VIP private intensive mentorship day, you'll get to give yourself permission to immerse yourself in focused attention and guidance. Whether I come to your community or you join me here in Atlanta, we will spend an entire day mapping out the exact next steps you need to take to live out your purpose fully. With post-VIP day access to one-on-one support via the Redefining Wealth app, you'll have ongoing guidance and accountability. But space is limited, so if you're ready to scale joy and make this summer your most transformative season yet, I want you to apply now. Go to patricewashington.com/VIP. That's patricewashington.com/VIP, and let's see if we're a fit, because I believe your purpose is waiting, and my purpose is to serve you. So that's the first part of the equation, truth squared. Here's the next part, transparency. It is so just important to be open and clear about your intentions and motives. This is in every space that you are in. Transparency just helps people understand where you're coming from, and it reduces any misunderstanding. It just reduces it up front. If you want to speak so people listen, be transparent about your intentions. I was just on a business call the other day, And I was meeting these people for the first time, and there was a demo that was about to happen. And the founder of the company said, before we get in, now the young lady who was running the demo and running the call was just going to jump in to the works, to the skill set, to the here's how it works. And her goal was going to be to wow and impress and enroll us just by showing us the stuff. But the founder took a step back and said, hey, before you share the screen, I just want to be clear. My intention is that we will be able to find XYZ. We will be able to come together and collaborate on ABC. That whatever you see here, here is what is possible. She was so thorough that I know that for my partners and I, it just made everybody shoulders drop, lean in and go, okay. So now we were all listening and watching and observing with different eyes, with different ears, with a different posture and a different heart. There is no reason, I don't know why we have been taught, especially professionally, like we have been taught that we don't show people our hands, that we don't show people our cards. I know that there are certain things in negotiating, and anyone who's a master negotiator will probably be really annoyed with me right now. But I will tell you, I have built 7-figure businesses multiple times now as someone who leads with transparency. I lead with transparency. And a part of why I can no longer be in certain relationships in my life, why they just became intolerable, is because the behavior would cause hiding and covering up. And that is not intuitive to who I am. So that became intolerable. And I believe that that's why a lot of us really don't show up and shine the way that we could. It's not because we're not clear on our gift or what to do. Some of us don't show up and shine because we have to hide other people's stuff, but that's another story for another day. You want to speak about how to speak so people listen? Be open and honest about your intentions and motives for the conversation. And if you don't know, like I said, I ask my clients, well, what do you want to accomplish if you go in there guns blazing? If you haven't thought through and are not clear in your heart, mind, body, spirit about the intentions and motives for why you are doing what you're doing, I don't care if it's a stage presentation, an interview on a podcast, or a conversation with your 10-year-old. If you are not clear about the intentions and motives, you confuse things and then get upset when people don't hear you, when they don't respond, and when they don't support, when they don't get in line with whatever it is you desire. Perhaps you're not coming off transparent. I know personally that whenever I go to do business with anyone, if I feel that they are hiding something, if there's just this energy of anything, I can't get with it. I can't get with it. I shut down. I don't even do it on purpose, but it's just an energy thing. I shut down. And we live in a time where people are more and more awake and aware and in tune with their feelings. And if you think that you can get more people to listen by being more covered up, and sometimes we don't even mean it. Like, I know that there's a lot of people who want to tell their story on stage. You're not transparent because you don't know how to say the things you want to say and remain in integrity or protect the supporting characters of the story and all those things. I understand. That's why I don't even think I've told you guys yet. Next week, I'm doing Speak with Purpose. So if you're listening to this on August 1st, on August 8th, 2024, I am doing Speak with Purpose. And that'll be really helpful to anyone who is listening, that you have a story to tell and you want to be more connected to your clients and to your community, but you don't know how to tell the story in a way that allows you to be a victor and not a victim. Like, just allows your story to be something that can be used to help other people and to give glory for your testimony. And so you hide behind very surface level stories, but you don't realize that is the complete opposite of transparency. So people might believe that you have a good heart, but they don't feel it. And so if you want to learn more, go to patricewashington.com/SWP, patricewashington.com/SWP, and you will find the link and I'll put it in the show notes. Okay, so anyway, back to the equation. Truth squared plus transparency. This is what builds trust. When people see you operating from truth squared plus transparency consistently, you will build trust. And trust is going to be the foundation of any strong relationship, whether it's personal or professional. This is why people can pivot in business, can shift things. This is why I've been able to pivot purposefully in how I express my gifts and my purpose in the marketplace, because I've built trust. Truth squared plus transparency. It just breeds trust. It creates deeper connection. It creates more meaningful exchanges with the people that you say you want to support and that you want to be in community with. So what are some examples of the trust, especially in, a personal sense? Just think of the parent-child relationship. As a now parent of a young adult almost, right? Reagan is 17 years old as of today. And because I've been honest and consistent with her, it has built a foundation of trust. Now, that doesn't mean that I tell her the business. It doesn't mean that it's inappropriate, conversation. But at each level and stage of her maturing, we have had a relationship rooted in, I can be honest with myself first, so that I can be honest with you. So there are some things that some people may listen to us as she's been growing up. We were talking about sex and drugs and alcohol when she was in middle school, because I didn't want anyone else giving my child bad advice or just misinforming her about anything related to those things. We've talked about all the things. And she's known since she was 12 years old, 13 years old, that she could come to mom and mom was going to have honest conversation with her. And so a teenager who's trusts their parents, I believe, is more likely to heed our warnings about the dangers of certain behaviors and come to us before they involve themselves with anything, or just be able to make better decisions. Truth squared plus transparency. I told her about all the stupid stuff I did when I was her age at every age. One, to normalize being a young person. And two, to make sure she knows that I'm not above it. I wasn't above it then. And here's what I would do differently. So she's making choices that are much different than what I did at that age. And I'm so proud of her for that. It built the trust. Can I be honest with you? I really don't believe anything changes in those pillars until you are willing to take radical action. And sometimes that means you have to get out of the comfort zone that is your house right now. I want to invite you to Redefining Wealth Live. Take radical action and come and join me live in person, October 6th through 8th, because this is going to be a transformative experience like no other. This is not a business conference, so we're not loading this with all the how-tos and to-dos and just strategy. This is about your soul. Redefining Wealth Live is a vibrant gathering of spirit-led, like-hearted purpose chasers who come together to awaken, redefine, and actualize wealth in every area of their lives. The goal is to move you from autopilot to authenticity. So I want you to picture yourself leaving not just inspired, but transformed. In our deeply connected community, we go beyond talking. We collaborate, we apply actionable insights, we work on our scripts, we get in our wisdom circles and really talk about our individual next steps. This is an unparalleled connection. There is clarity and confidence in that room that you want to apply to your life. You need this in order to bring your vision to life. So this is the room you want to be in, October 6th through 8th. I want to invite you to go to redefiningwealthlive.com right now to secure your spot. That's redefiningwealthlive.com right now. And when you do, you'll have access to our next bonus co-created connection call, where you can learn from me well before the event and also start to connect with other attendees. You don't want to miss this. redefiningwealthlive.com. What about friendships, personal relationships? I started by saying that when you're not honest with yourself, you become one of those people who gossips about everybody else because you don't want to face your own stuff. So how do you show up in friendships? In friendships, trust is always going to be essential if you want to have a meaningful connection and communication. So friends who trust each other are more open to sharing their personal issues and taking advice. We don't have to suffer in silence. How many of you feel like you have friends that you can't even tell them the real about what's going on in your life? So a friend who trusts that their confidential stuff is going to be kept, they're more likely to share, but also to seek and listen to your own advice on anything that's sensitive. For all the educators in this community, all the teachers, a teacher who creates a safe and trustworthy classroom environment, you're going to have more engaged and attentive students. Just is what it is. Because when a student will trust that you as a teacher have their best interest at heart, they're more likely to listen. They're going to participate. They're going to ask questions. They're going to be, engaged in supporting you and keeping the peace in the classroom. There's just so many examples of what happens when we see people operate with some level of truth and transparency. When they speak, we listen. In every area of our lives, the people who you think are truthful and transparent are always going to get your attention. Is that how you show up? Because I want you to be able to give voice to your truth. But if you don't feel like people are listening or understanding, then we have to get to the root of that so that you can give voice more powerfully, personally and professionally. Now, once that trust is established, that's where transformation occurs. And that transformation could be renewing a relationship. It could be your own personal growth, your own spiritual growth, improving connection, improving your communication overall, improving your sales, improving your messaging for the people you feel called to serve. Let me tell you something, believe it or not, when you apply this equation, truth squared plus transparency leading to truth, you can expect transformation. You can expect people to want to listen to you sooner, quicker, faster than you think. Sooner, quicker, faster in every area of your life. But how to speak so people listen, first part is internal. Next week, I'm going to give you a taste of what I'll train on and speak with purpose, just like a short framework around the anatomy of being transformational with your words. But I want you to get this down, and I want you to really reflect on the questions that I gave you earlier. I sent these questions out to the newsletter, but I'll share with you again because I want you to think about this. What is not using my voice costing me personally and professionally? And remember what I'm saying. Not using your voice, meaning not being true to yourself or true to others. What is that costing you? How is staying silent impacting my relationships and my ability to achieve my own goals and deepest desires? What fears are holding me back from expressing my truth? How would my life change if I could communicate with boldness and authenticity? What would it look like if you could just say the things and not be so consumed with someone else's furrowed brow or frown? Because you're owning, not just knowing, but owning your own truth. And lastly, what do I do if I'm not being heard? I really do hope that if you're not being heard, if you're not being heard as a parent, if you're not being heard as a spouse, if you're not being heard in the workplace, if you're not being heard by your potential clients as an entrepreneur and speaker, if you're not being heard, not feeling misunderstood, that you will consider this equation. And I pray that it blesses you the way that it has blessed me. If you want to attend Speak with Purpose next week, August 8th, 6 p.m. Eastern, you have to register at patricewashington.com/SWP. That's patricewashington.com/SWP. It's going to be so good. I have not done a Speak with Purpose in 2 whole years. The last time I did it was September 2022, and so much has changed. That particular training usually gets thousands of people registered, and I'm so excited to be bringing it back. It's going to be amazing. So this month is all about giving voice to truth. Make sure you come into the Redefining Wealth app and feel free to share your reflection around this episode and around any of those questions that I asked. I would love to see you share and be loved on by that community. It is such a safe space outside of the noise of social media. But that's it for me. I'll be back next week with kind of a part 2, but I may name it something differently. But we'll just pick up and really lean into some professional pieces of how you can speak so people will listen, will want to listen, will engage, will clamor to get the good stuff that you have. So make sure that you tune in next week. Until then, I want you to live your life's purpose, find fulfillment, and earn more without ever chasing money. I'll talk to you later.